Hello, hello. I'm going to do a new video. It's been a while since I've posted a video here, and I want to introduce a new format. I know that, I'm not expecting a whole bunch of people to see this, and I'm in the next few videos going to be explaining this new format, so I'm going to explain this here, and I'll just mention it in the other videos as well. Basically, I'm not going to be editing the videos as much, and this is going to make a lot more of a natural video style, not as much just compacted information with a bunch of jump cuts. That was my old videos, just focused purely on information. But I guess even taking it a step further and really trying to write a script for the video and then trying to follow the script and then recording the video in a certain way to where I can edit it and it's just information with no pauses, no gaps. And it kind of loses the human quality. So I've been thinking about that, and although my old videos are extremely efficient, there's a lot of information. Um, Through the feedback I've gotten from people asking if it could maybe be slower, I think that this would just be a much better style. I can't promise anything's going to be any slower if I'm doing it live, honestly. I might even jump it up a notch because I was actually trying to go a little slow in those last videos. I think the jump cuts is what made it more natural. So let's get into it. I want to talk about music. I want to talk about kind of my mindset behind this. And you can see here, I'm not in MIDI. I am doing, I'm reading music. And you don't have to be able to read music to be able to learn from this lesson. There's going to be a whole lot of things in this lesson, a whole lot of, a whole lot of information, and just trips, tips and tricks, and kind of little things to help you memorize things, acronyms, and so on. Let's get into it. First, I'm going to make this a different layout. I'm only going to do 4 bars here. So actually, I'm just going to, I'll put this the next page. So I'll do 4 bars here. I'm going to go to the next page. And then what I do a lot too is I'll just separate some more 4 bars for later. You'll see what I do when I get to it. Or in other words, why I'm doing this when I get to it. Okay, so then I'm just going to go here. This is an extra page. I'm just going to delete that for now. And here we have a starter page and we have everything else. So to start off, I want to think about the key that I'm going to be in. Um, all the kids these days seem to be doing D sharp minor and stuff, so I'm gonna do D sharp minor. But on the real, the reason why I'm doing D sharp minor, uh, other than other people are doing it, is because the music that this is going to go into, the genre, the style of music that this 4 bars is going to go into, is going to be music that does go very low. Some people call it bass music. I have a hard time just calling it bass music. People are like, "What are you talking about? Bass music?" Electronic dance music that is designed to hit the subwoofer, and hit very low frequencies to where the bass line you can feel it shaking your body, and you can also hear it as well. But with it going super low, you're really feeling a lot of these frequencies in your body. I'm not saying like that's the whole point of it, but it kind of gives you an idea of how low the frequencies are going. And because of that, a lot of the people are relying on certain notes. I see a lot of people generally going around from, let's say, D flat, and then going through chromatically D sharp, which you could also call E flat, the same note, and then to E, and then to F, and then F sharp. Then I also see people doing up to G. Maybe you'll do G sharp. And that's generally the range that I see. Some people actually go below that. So they even go down to, let's say, a C. C, I'm talking about the octaves too. It's kind of difficult when you talk about octaves with MIDI and music because they're slightly different. But if we're talking about the octaves of MIDI, then it's going to be the C0. So C0, once it gets down there, gets pretty low. Once you get down to that C0, you do actually start hearing the waves, I've noticed. And you can go lower than that to B flat. People told me they've done that. Some sound systems are designed well to where you can go that low and it sounds good. But on a general rule of thumb, I've been taught to not really go a lot lower than D flat. And then I see a lot of people who are making EDM music, and a lot of the tracks in the genre that I like, a lot of times are in the scale of D sharp. And then with that being in the key and scale of D sharp, then we're able to make that lowest note D sharp. Because a lot of times you want to make the bass note that tonic note. Tonic is the first note of the scale or the scale that you're using. I'm using D sharp minor. So then that lowest note's going to be D sharp minor a lot, that very fundamental note. And that's the reason why I picked D sharp minor. And that's the reason why I'm going to be writing this music in D sharp minor as well. So everything's going to fit together. And then I can also have the note that I want as that bass note, basically, in simple terms, the very lowest note, the very lowest bass note. And here we are. So what is D sharp minor? You can think about this a lot of different ways, and I'm going to explain my mindset behind it. I've been studying keys and stuff for a while, and I'm able just to have all the keys memorized. And it's very simple. I've just studied the circle of fifths, and with that, I'm able to know all the keys. And basically, in my head, I know that I want to use D sharp minor, so I'm just going to explain my mindset behind this. Since I know I'm in D sharp minor, I want to know the notes in D sharp minor personally, or be able just to know that key and understand it. It helps me a lot. That's how I was able to just easily see that there were six sharps here and know this was D sharp minor. In my head, I say D sharp minor is a minor scale and it has a relative major. Every minor scale has a relative major, and you just go up a minor third. So if I think about D sharp minor, I can just go up a minor third and I land on F sharp. And I know that's going to be F sharp major. And to explain that further, F sharp major is going to have the exact same notes as D sharp minor, and that's why they are relative. The relative minor and major have the same notes, but you start on a different note for the minor and you start on a different note for the major, and because of that, they sound different. So I could get into that a lot more, major, minor, whatever it is, but I think a lot of things you can fully understand kind of through the process of learning music, but you don't need to understand everything all at once. So you can just understand, how do you know what D sharp minor is? Well, you know that it's F sharp major, and it's going to have the same notes as F sharp major. How do I know which notes it has? That's because I can think about the circle of fifths, and if I start on C and I go clockwise, I go up from C, counting G as one. I go C, I go to G, D, A, E, B, F sharp. And because I land on F sharp, then I know that this has six sharps. And then I can follow the order of sharps, which is F, C, G, D, A, E, B. And those are the seven sharps. But I know my key only has six sharps, so it doesn't have that B. So one more time, I know this key has F, C, G, D, A, and E sharp. Okay? And the funny thing about sheet music is I already put that here in the key signature is what it's called. I don't need to think about that anymore. All I need to think about is the fact that I'm going to be using a key that's D. It is going to be D sharp, but when I'm writing a note here, all that I'm going to be writing is a D. And the key signature is going to tell me which note to play. So it makes it really easy. And unlike MIDI, to where I always have to think about the sharp and the flat and what note I am on the piano roll with all the 12 notes, here I only have seven notes I'm working with: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then since I'm in D sharp minor, it's already going to make all those notes in D sharp minor for me. Because this says every time I play a F, it's F sharp. Every time I play a C, it's C sharp, and so on with all the other sharps: F, C, G, D, A, E. Okay? So that gives you an understanding. It's very helpful. And then knowing all this actually makes it so then you don't have to think about it, because once you're reading music and once you're using the what I call the sheet music, it's on a sheet, uh, then you can basically just disattach from all the thoughts of the sharps and the flats and stuff like that. I'm going to show you how I do this. So first of all, I'm going to write the key that I'm working in, and that's going to be D sharp minor. So like I said, I'm not going to think about the sharps and stuff every single second. I'm just going to think about these notes here. Okay, all the notes in the scale are going to be D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. You're never going to have two notes. So you just go through those seven notes. No matter what scale you're on, you're going to have all the notes A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, but since it's a D scale, we're starting on D. It's a D sharp though, right? Okay, so it has F, C, G, D, A, E, and the only sharp that there is not is B. Okay? So now I'm going to label all these. Now we can see all of these are sharp. And then above it, I'm going to label the actual chords that relate to the notes that I'm using. Or yeah, okay. This is going to tell you the chords, and not just the chords, the quality of the chords. So is it a minor chord? Is it a major chord? Is it a diminished chord? And so on. And I already know that in a minor scale, you have a minor 1, 4, and 5, and you have a major 3, 6, and 7, and you have a diminished 2. Okay, so there we go. And now anytime I want to think about a chord, I already know the quality of it, and I already have it organized here to where I don't actually have to think about it very much. I can just look here and wait 1 second. So in other words, I can just look here and I can say, okay, I want an A chord. That's going to be the 5th chord. Or in other words, I want the 5th chord is going to be A. And it makes it really easy because a lot of times when you get into writing music, things can get kind of annoying. You can get into another mindset. You can get kind of a headache and it's hard to think about stuff. So if you already have a bunch of notes written out to help you, it makes it a lot easier. And then basically, I'm just going to start writing notes. And I'm going to explain what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start writing for the piano, and I'm going to start making a chord progression. I'm going to first think about a chord progression and just basically write it out. So I'm going to minor scale, and I think it'd be kind of cool just do a minor 4, and then a 5. And then from there, I'll do a 2 diminished. I'll do another 4. And then from there, I will do a 6 major. And then I'll do a 3. What should I do? Yeah, I'll do a 6 major, and then I'll just do a 5. I'll keep it simple. And then the last one will be a 1, 6, and then a 1. Okay? Now I'm just going to fill in the notes basically because I know the chords that I'm going to use. So basically, as you see, I have 2 chords in all of these first ones. Or actually, I have 2 chords in all of them. So basically, I'm just splitting it up to have 2 different chords. And I'll do that on the bottom as well. So now I have half note rests, and I split it up, just kind of organizing stuff, making it easier for myself. And now I'm going to start filling in notes, kind of just figuring out what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with chord 4. I'm going to start in the piano. I'm going to do a G chord, and you don't have to do every note in order. So I'm thinking about doing a G, B, or D anywhere. I think it would actually be very cool to start with a second inversion. So I'm going to do a D and then a G, B. I like that. Okay, so that's what I want to do. And then for the next chord, it's a chord 5. So I'm going to do, it's an A. We have the notes A, C, E. Now for the next chord, I'm maybe going to look at the closest options to it. And that could be one mindset. I want to find an A, C, and E, and I could find the ones that are closest to it. But I also know that I want some melodic material. So I'm going to think about the fact that I don't want everything to be close. I might want actually one note to be further away. So let's think about that. A, C, E, what could I do? I could put a C up here. And then I could do an E here. And then I could do an A here. Okay, see, everything's kind of split up now. So now I'm going to do a different idea. Let's see. A, C, E. I could do the C here. I can do the A here, and then the E here. Whoa. Okay. Kind of like that, kind of like that. I think I can make that better. I could do an E here. And I could do a C here. I like that a lot more, and there's some gaps in between these notes, so there's something to work with, and there's less of a gap in the bass. That's nice. So now I'm going to go to the chord 2, and that is also a 2 diminished, so I'm going to do EGB. So let's do that. EGB, where am I going to find an E and a G and a B, somewhere that I can work with it, somewhere where I can actually have a reason behind what I'm doing, and not just randomly putting the notes, but me saying, okay, I want some of the notes to be a little further to add some melody, and you'll see basically what I'm doing. Okay, so EGB. Let's see. I do a GB here, because I already did that in the beginning. Now it's kind of a similar pattern. But instead of that, I'm going to have an E here. Where am I going to have an E? Maybe there. Okay, I like that. And then we're going to do a chord 4. So GBD. I'll do the G down there in the bass. And then I'll have a B and a D. That'll just shift up as the triad there. Very easy to follow. Oops. Nice. Whoops, I keep pressing C instead of space. Okay, here we go. Now we have chord 6. So we have a B, D, and an F. How am I going to do this? Let's find out. B, D, F. Okay, so I could do the same thing, and I could go up another third. Or I could change it up. B, D, F. I could always do an F here. I could do a B here. And I could do an F. Right there. Okay, I like that. I like that. And then I'm going to do a chord 5. So I'm going to think about an A, C, E. Again, I'm not going to really think about the order of the notes. I'm just going to kind of see how this goes. A, C, E. How am I going to do this? Maybe not that. Maybe that. Let's see how it sounds. Okay. Kind of like that. I think it's going to be better if I actually keep it simple and just do an A and a C, E. Yep, okay. And then I'm going to do a chord 1 first inversion. That was the idea, at least. So that'd be a F, A, D, or an F, D, A. So let's look at F. We have F down here again. F. And then we have, let's see, I'm going to do this. F, D, A, make it higher. I'm near the end, so I did a note a lot higher than I usually did, and I didn't really go much lower than, well, I didn't actually go lower than this F note here in the bass. So I have this lowest note I've done so far and the highest note at the same time. So sort of a climax, and as well as that lower note established, which is not just a climax, but it's also just the separation and a contrast. So then we're going to get into the chord one, just first inversion. I mean, not first inversion, but root, just just as it is. What do you even call it again? Root? The root or the regular? I don't know. Okay. DFA, we're going to do DFA. Let's look for a D and an F and an A. Yeah. This is why a lot of times you write the last chord before you get to it. So if I want to do a DFA, I would probably do this. Okay. That's the idea. It's 4 bars. I'm going to repeat it. So now I want to put a repeat sign and see if it sounds good when I repeat it. Oops. So now bar lines, repeat. I think that sounds pretty sick, personally. Okay, so now we can work with that. And I can take all of the notes in the piano, I can put them in the cello, and then I can split up these 2 notes into 2 different voices. I'll assign the bottom notes as voice 2. Okay, and then I can highlight all of this. And I can copy into the violin and viola. And then I can go and I can delete the bottom line of the viola. After I change the viola to a treble clef so I don't have to read an alto clef. And I can look at the violin above it and kind of just see the register of the notes without thinking about it too hard. It may not be correct to think about the viola like this, but this makes it a lot easier for me. And honestly, when you're thinking about just knowing the treble clef and knowing how to read the treble clef, then you can also think about where middle C is and the register of the viola, and you can just make sense of writing for the viola and the strings and everything with the treble clef. Oops. I did the wrong thing. I was supposed to delete the top. Okay, delete the top. I'm gonna delete the top from the viola, and then I'm gonna delete the bottom from the violin. Violin's on top, viola's on the bottom. Now I'm going to delete the rests. Here we go. Then I'm going to change all of this into voice 1, and I will delete the rests. Okay. Now we have all the notes in the violin, viola, and piano, and we can listen to it. Okay, and the piano kind of adds a cool quality to it. Now we can see the notes that we've written, and we can start to edit them. Wait a second. Okay, I see. I thought that something was wrong. It is not wrong. Okay, so I'm going to start in the viola, and I'm just going to simply put a note in the middle here. I don't know if I like that, actually. Let's see. Hmm. Yeah. I think I want to change the viola to a violin. Okay, so layout, viola, replace the violin. Uh, wait. Oh. Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna change these notes. I'm gonna start just changing these to quarter notes at the moment. I'm just gonna put some movement in between these. That's the whole point for me doing this. Okay. Oops. Yes. Okay, interesting. Okay, so now I can change all of these into quarter notes. And then I can go up in the middle of these and I can add an extra note. And then I can look at these notes and see what chord I'm doing. So I'm doing 2 and 4. And then in the middle of this, I have a A and a C. So then I could think about what can a C be. It could be an F chord. It could be an A chord. And let's see. F. I could do an A. Yeah, so if I do an A chord, then I could turn this into eighth notes. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I could turn this into eighth notes, and I could start on that A, and then go to, or I mean, I could do C and then A, highlight an A chord there, and see how it works. Okay, a little too fast. I'm also in a very fast tempo, so I'll change the tempo. Boom. 80, that's pretty good. Okay. And I'll try the eighth notes again and see if that works better, if it's slower. Okay, and this is just the beginning. I'm probably going to add some more dotted notes and some more rhythm with that. But for now, I'm just kind of making an idea. I like how it sounds. I like the idea where it's at. Everything's pretty simple, and I could keep doing basically the same kind of thing I'm doing and build a pattern and do some more quarter notes. So right now there's a pattern where there's quarter notes every single measure, every single note of every single measure. And not in every instrument, but at least one of the instruments is playing quarter notes at all times. So it looks like I'm going to keep doing that. Even here, when we get to the cello, I can start to do the same thing here. And then I can look for where I could do that again. And it looks like here I could just kind of make the cello walk a little bit. Oops. I can add some more notes in here basically. And I could do something where I do a jump down to a note that is in the key, and then I go up from there. And I'll basically I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, so right here I'm in chord 6, so that's a B, D, and an F. And is there any way that I could go down to a B, D, or an F and do something kind of sneaky here? I do have an F. I do have a D. Let's see. I could go down to the D. And then from here I could go back to up to the F. And it's all just notes in the chord at this point. Okay, and I like those eighth notes there. Let's see if I could do some more eighth notes here and make it sound cool. Look at that. Just going up the notes that are going to lead to the next one. And since I'm in chord 5, I want A, C, and E. And we do see that I'm on F and then G, so that's not in there. But going to the G on the last note is going to allow me to press the 5th or the 7th of that A chord. So A, C, E, G. There we're kind of expressing that 7th note of the chord. Okay. Oh, there's something I didn't do. That's funny. Okay. And then from here, a lot of the times I'm going to also paste the chords in these other, and then also make variations. And so I can basically do the same thing but vary it a bit. And I can even paste what I'm putting in the violin and viola cello here, or both the violins and the cello. And I could put this and also copy this and make a variation off the melody I'm making. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so now I want to still continue with the thing where I always have quarter notes in each voice until that last actual note there. And we can simply see that I can actually do this in the middle voice, or the violin, number 2, as well as if I go to the cello, and they're opposite, they're in contrary motion. So as one, I bumped something, they're in contrary motion. So one thing goes down, one thing goes up. Okay, it's pretty cool. Yeah. So basically with that, I'm gonna kind of do what I just did again. And I'm going to copy this over. I'm gonna copy it over in the violin and cello. Violins, I mean. Okay, so here we go. We have the violin 1 and 2. We have the cello. And this is what I would normally do. I would just put the chords here. And like I did before where I deleted everything accordingly. Change the voice. Okay, and then here I have just the chord progression, just the actual half notes, each of the notes that make up the chord progression. And then I can also take this, I can highlight it, I can paste it. Okay, I can do one at a time. Yes. There we go. Okay, I guess I'm going too quick. Okay, let's go. Or that's one. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we have all of that taken care of, and I can start writing some more notes. I like how this last one turned out, and I can also copy this and make this a variation, and just also hold that where it is there. So I made this rough sketch of a melody. I have a rough sketch of a chord progression, and then now I'm gonna go, let's see, I'll keep this one the way it is. And I'll go to the second one, and I'm going to start adding some variation to the notes and add some rhythm. Oops. Whoa. Okay. Maybe I won't do dotted. I see. More eighth notes is what I need. And I should start off right away doing some eighth notes, so I'm not all hung up where I am. Okay, so what's the first one? I have a chord 4 and 5. So a chord 4 in D sharp is going to be a G, and that's why I always have this here. Okay, but I'm going to do a G, and I'm going to do a GBD, and I want 2 eighth notes, and I want to somehow work with that. Let's see. We can do a B and a D. And both notes are in that chord of the G, and then that B, the last note, leads me into the next note. C right here, with only one step away. I see these two make it second. It's kind of muddy and it doesn't sound all that great. Okay, and then I have a chord 5, which is gonna be an A, so A, C, E. So I'll do an A, Oops. I'll do an A, and I'll go up to a B in the middle, and then that'll actually lead me. Oh, that's the same note. What am I doing? Okay. That's funny. So I'll do A, C, E. Let's do this. A, C. There we go. Okay. I think it's pretty sick. Okay, so I'll call that melodic. Melodic. There we go. And then I'll call, did I already have that highlighted? No, I didn't. So I'll call this one just chords. Chords. Progressions. Okay, so chord progression. Okay. So now I have a chord progression. I already did that. I have the melodic idea. I edited it, and I have the less melodic idea. What do you think about the note? Yeah, this looks like a triad. But okay, so what notes am I doing? I'm doing a chord 6. I'm going to do B, D, F, and I do have a D and a F. Okay, just want to keep the D. And then I also, from there, go to chord 5, which is an A, C, E. And I have, yes. I'm in chord 5, which is A, C, E. And I have an F and G. I'm going to keep that one because that's the 7th A, C, E, G. Shit. Oh. Oh. Oh, what the hell is even going on? Okay. Less melodic. Okay. Less melodic. Melodic. Chord progression. Okay. So now I have 3 different ideas, and I can use them all. If I want a slow part, it's the same thing, but slower. I mean, it's the same skeleton, same fundamental idea. The less melodic one, if I want it slower than the actual melody. And then the more melodic. Okay. Okay. Oops. And now I'm gonna just kind of do something. I'm thinking about adding some more measures. I want to add 16 bars. I kind of just want to do 12. I'm gonna do 16. So that'll be 4 sets of 3, or 3 sets of, what am I saying? 4 sets of 4. Okay, so let's go. We have the layout. I'm gonna go down on each one at the 4th bar, and the 4th one will be on the next page. And then from here I can just kind of add what I want to add. I want to start it right in the faster melody. Then I want to slow it down, the slower melody. Some contrast. And then I'll do the not so melodic melody after that. Whoa, what did I do? Okay, let's do that again. Now the less melodic idea again. Less melodic is going to be after here. And then I'm going to get another thing of just the chord progression, and I'll put that at the end. Now we can have out to listen. Alrighty. Like it. It's cool. There we go. It is a little melody written for the violin, cello, and viola, or actually just 2 violins and a cello. I also have a piano in there, which is cool. And the piano is just holding down the chords. So that's all I got. Pretty simple video. It's me kind of explaining my mindset. I think there's a lot to kind of grasp here. And even if everything didn't make sense, you probably still sort of downloaded a lot. You probably subconsciously picked up on a lot, and it'll be very helpful. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Goodbye.